Hello and welcome to class. This is your Unit 3 lecture on language, dialogue, and conjuring. In previous units this semester, we discussed Aristotle's 6 elements of drama: plot, character, rhythm, language, theme, and spectacle, as well as Anne Bogart's ideas of terror and our own thoughts on empathy as the elements or the building blocks of a drama. We then turned our focus to given circumstances as the foundation of a play. In continuing with this house building analogy, now that we have our building materials, the elements, and our foundation, the given circumstances, it's time to start putting up some walls. This week we're going to turn our attention to language. The word language is generally accepted to mean simply a means of communication. In theater, there are many ways or languages in which ideas can be expressed. The actor's physical gestures on a stage give us information about character while advancing both the plot and the themes of the play. Whole performances can be based around movement alone. We could also talk about the visual language of a play. For example, the ideas conveyed to us through video projections, for example. But for this unit, we're going to concentrate on the most familiar type of language used in the theater, and that is the playwright's text. According to Oscar Brockett was a theater teacher at University of Texas for many years. And if you go see, he literally wrote the textbook on the history of theater. And if you go see a play at UT, one of the main theaters there that you can see this picture of the Oscar Brockett Theater is named after him. According to Brockett, language is the playwright's primary means of expression. When a play is performed, other expressive means such as music, sound effects, and spectacle may be added, but to convey intention to others, the dramatist or playwright depends entirely on dialogue and stage directions. Thus, language or diction is the playwright's primary tool. Language serves many purposes. It can impart information, it creates character, may direct our attention to important plot elements, and very often the plot elements are actually held with the language. It may reveal the themes and the ideas of the play. It can help to establish the tone or mood and internal logic. It can also be used to establish tempo and rhythm. So if you look at the list, you can kind of notice that language is the vehicle through which many of the other elements, rhythm, theme, plot, are communicated. So it's a very simple way to think about language is language simply is a means of communication. And so you can think of it as the vehicle through which a lot of these other elements are communicated or shown in a play. The style of a particular playwright is often called their voice or their sound, and there is many different language styles as there are playwrights. And we're just going to take a few minutes here to really quickly explore the different styles and voices of 4 different playwrights. You know, we could do this for thousands of playwrights and see all their different styles, but we're not going to take that much time. I'm just going to look at the differences in the voices of 4 different playwrights. First of all, Neil LaBute, he's known for his short, direct style. This is a short section from his play Reasons to be Pretty. Carly, fine, God. Kent, that's all I'm saying. Carly, great, point, set, and whatever. Kent, match, if you're meaning tennis. Carly, yes, match, you win. You see, he's very short, very staccato, very direct. Almost an attacking style that categorizes Neil LaBute's work. I think a lot of people may even say that this is similar to a style of or related to television style dialogue. It's very quick, very short. There's no ornamentation or flowery, flowy language to it at all. So now we can just kind of look at the opposite of what that might be, was the Southern lyricism of Tennessee Williams. And this is a short selection from Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Margaret, poisons, poisons, Venomous thoughts and words, in hearts and minds that's poisons. Cooper, I'm asking for a square deal, and by God, I expect to get one. But if I don't get one, if there's any peculiar shenanigans going on around here behind my back, well, I'm not a corporation lawyer for nothing. I know how to protect my own interests. I'm obviously not an actor, but you get the idea. While these scenes are essentially the same, right? There's a man and a woman, and they're finishing an argument. Both the scenes are pretty much the same. Notice how much information we're given about the characters, not only characters, but the world of the play, not by what the characters say, but how they say it. If you were to close your eyes, I bet you can imagine the location these scenes would take place in with no scene directions whatsoever. Perhaps no modern playwright has influenced the way language is used and talked about more than David Mamet, and I believe that by more closely examining his work, we'll see many of the writing tendencies of contemporary writers. Mamet's style of writing dialogue, marked by cynical, street smart edge, it's very precisely crafted for that effect. He often used italics and quotation marks to highlight particular words and to draw attention to his characters' frequent manipulation and deceitful use of language. His characters frequently interrupt one another, their sentences trail off unfinished, and their dialogue overlaps. This is a scene from Glengarry Glen Ross in which two real estate salesmen are considering stealing from the office. Moss, no. What do you mean? Have you talked to him about this? Aaron, yes, I mean, you're actually talking about this, or we just, Moss, no, we're just, Aaron, now, we're just talking about it. Moss, we're just speaking about it as an idea. Aaron, now, as an idea? Moss, yes. Aaron, now, we're not actually talking about it. Moss, no. Aaron, no, talking about it is, Moss, no. Aaron, now, as a robbery. Moss, as a robbery? No. I want you to notice a few things about this section. Check out the rhythm of the language, aided by pauses. Those pauses, those empty spaces, are probably as important as the words. The short statements, the yes, nos, keep the dialogue moving at a very fast clip. When performed by good actors, unlike myself, the dialogue becomes a music of its own that gets into the bones of an audience. When you see a play with language that's really tightly crafted like this, you can really feel the language, the movement, the rhythm of the language. You can notice how David Mamet uses italics to emphasize certain words or phrases, letting actors know what the words in a line carry the most weight. And finally, I want you to pay attention to what the characters don't say. That often tells us more about them than what comes out of their mouths. Great playwrights use pauses and empty spaces or silences between lines to communicate the internal life of the characters. And in this scene, the characters talk around the real conversation, which is, do you want to rob this place? Even when the word robbery comes up. Moss denies that that's what they're talking about, when it is, of course, that's the only thing that they're talking about. That's David Mamet. Kia Corthon. There are as many different and distinct voices as there are playwrights, and I could go on for hours about the different styles of some of my favorites, but I think I would be doing you a huge disservice if I didn't introduce you to the beautifully lyrically but strongly rooted in realism style of Kia Corthon. This is a passage from Breathe Boom, where the character Pre plans a neighborhood fireworks show. I got it planned. This ain't the big show I always wanted. Class B, but I do okay with these homeworks, aerials and fountains and Roman candles, rockets still meticulous with color effects, style. Whole show won't last 5 minutes. I could drag it out and make it last and everyone waiting, anticipating the next shell, but the excitement, the euphoria is in the momentum. Don't drop it. I paint the emotional rhythms, some calmer than others, these peaks and dips important to prevent monotony. Just never drop the thrill to nil. In this short monologue, you can see bits of LaBute and Mamet and Williams all rolled into one, but in a voice that's beautiful and unique and honest to her characters. Kia's writing has such rhythm and pace, such melody to it. She's one of many contemporary playwrights creating work by really staying true to her own voice. Nobody writes like she does, and that's kind of what makes her so great. I'll talk a little bit about dialogue. Um, the director Francis Hodge often talks about dialogue being the facade of the play script. When we talked about given circumstances, we were building the foundation for our play. Now we're ready to examine the clothes on the package, if you will, the walls. For Hodge, dialogue is all about action. In fact, he defines dialogue as not just the things people say, but also, far more importantly, what they do. The primary job of the dialogue is to contain the dramatic action of the play. When you think of a film, the moving image is the primary element holding the dramatic action of the movie. In a play, it's the language. Language has all of the power on the stage. It's through dialogue that a character forces his desires, his or her will, wants, goals on all the other characters. In a script, dialogue is a building process. A says something to B, to which B responds, and A responds back in a continuing cycle, so it's always building. And the goal is always the same, to seek response out of another person, just like in real life. You'll often hear a director, if you're in rehearsal, ask, what does your character want? And that answer will almost certainly always be found in the dialogue. The dialogue is the tool that the character is using to achieve their goal, which is to get what they want. Character A wants certain thing from character B, and the dialogue is their primary tool to get that out. It's also important to note, and I mentioned this a little bit when I was talking about David Mamet, that what's unsaid is very often as important as what is said on stage. This is where the real guts, the heart and soul of drama lies, in the subtext of the dramatic action. That subtext is often developed as part of the given circumstances that we've talked about, which is the foundation of the drama. And then through the vehicle of language, that those given circumstances start to peek their head up over the walls so we can see them. Conjuring. While film is a depicting medium, it's important to remember that theater is a conjuring medium. If I were to set a scene in a coffee shop in San Francisco, in a film, I would show the skyline, the bridge, the street, the coffee shop, the table, and a character sipping a cup of joe to depict the idea that we're starting our story in a coffee shop in San Francisco. In a theater, I don't have to do any of that. All I have to do is have an actor walk out onto an empty stage and simply say, "So I was in this coffee shop in San Francisco when such and such happened." And the audience immediately fills in the details. The stage, for them, is no longer a blank space. That stage suddenly becomes that coffee shop in San Francisco. All through the conjuring, what I call the conjuring power of language on the stage. With language on the stage, a blank stage and language, an actor can really take you anywhere. They can create any world that they want. They can use their language to get things from other characters, to manipulate other characters, to force their wills and desires on other characters, all through the beautiful lens, the beautiful voice of the playwright. So that's the power of language in theater. It's huge. Language again, is the playwright's primary means of expression. It holds and imparts the play to the audience. Like the walls of a building, language gives the play its shape and holds the entire drama within. In the theater, language matters. Language can kill. It can give birth to new worlds. What characters say is important. It is action and it counts. Every playwright has a unique voice, and through language they express their art. That's all for this unit, and we'll see you next time.